Before we get to the video, check out my Patreon linked in the description of this video, where for $5 a month you get exclusive content such as sneak peeks at projects like upcoming videos, dioramas, stop motions, photography. You'll get a shout out in videos like this one. I also take video requests. You can see behind the scenes of my stop motions in toy photography, as well as exclusive stop motions in photography. Again, you get all these perks on my Patreon for $5 a month. Link to join in the description of this video. Now let's get to it. What's up, you guys? Thank you for clicking on this video. So as you can tell by the title, I will be going through more question and answers from the TFW 2005 and Mark Clonis interview from a few months ago in June that I didn't get a chance to cover back then, or I just forgot to do so because of other news and other videos that got in the way, and then the SDCC interview came out and I kind of just forgot to do the rest of these. But let's get right down to the nitty-gritty, shall we? So this first question and answer here. So TFW asked, is there still interest in making updates of toy-only characters like Polar Claw, Bonsaitron, etc.? And Mark answered, of course, just trying to make everything fit in is the challenge. You know, Polar Claw especially, we saw on that original Kingdom poster, along with Gears, those two were canceled for the line, and it's been over 4 years now and we still haven't seen Polar Claw. I'm really hoping for next year, for maybe like the Beast Wars 30th anniversary, which we're going to get into here in a little bit in the video. It would be nice to see him maybe released as in like a capsule line or something that we may not know about for next year. But who knows? I mean, honestly, we'll probably see him 2027 at the earliest. You know, if we get that listing for a leader class Polar Claw, I am going to go ballistic. I am going to be praising Hasbro to the high heavens if we get a listing for a Polar Claw. Even at Voyager class, I'd be ecstatic for that. That would be amazing. So this other question and answer here is, so TFW asked, are there plans for the Beast Wars anniversary next year, and what would you most like to make for it? And Mark answered with, personally, I'd like to include some of the weirder, obscure Beast Wars guys like Injector, as well as some of the less obscure ones like Depth Charge, etc., so stay tuned. The Vac Metal Metallics are a challenge in production nowadays, still scratching my head on those. Wow, so quite a bit to kind of break down here in this answer. Very interesting. I like what Mark said here. So getting obscure Beast Wars guys like Injector, sign me up. Can we get Insecticon? Can we get... what was that basic class turtle back in 96? Can we get him? He was the snapping turtle. He was amazing. Can we get a deluxe Man-Terror or a Voyager class Man-Terror? Can we get a new Drill Bit? You know, characters like this? A new Cyber Shark or something? You know, I'm all for those obscure Beast Wars characters. You know, the original figures are still great, especially for today's standards. They still hold up really well. And they're not too expensive on the aftermarket. They go for about, you know, the modern day retail of figures nowadays. So there's not too much of a rush per se. But, you know, it would be nice to see these guys updated with some ankle tilts possibly on some of these guys that are missing it. And the whole depth charge thing and the trans metals, those would be nice to see as well. I mean, we are getting third-party Masterpiece versions at some point soon from companies. So I'm really looking forward to those more so, honestly, in my opinion. But, you know, the whole Vac Metal thing that he mentioned here being a challenge in production is kind of crazy to hear. You know, they were able to do it back in the 90s and the 2000s, and even as early as like 2014, 2015 for the Age of Extinction toy lines. But nowadays, 10, 20 years later, it's a bit of a challenge. I don't know if he means for like budget or for actual factory manufacturing. Maybe it's both, one or the other. I don't know. But that's kind of crazy to hear, considering, you know, we're kind of living in the future at this point with a lot of the technology we're seeing and a lot of the stuff that's happening in the world. And we can't get Vac Metal on figures that they were doing Vac Metal on almost 30 years ago. That's kind of crazy to hear, but I mean, it is what it is. I guess that's the name of the game, name of capitalism, and just what Hasbro is able to do with budgets nowadays, if that's what he's alluding to, which kind of sucks. But another question here is, could we see any kind of exclusive line for the Beast Wars anniversary? And Mark answered, we will see, exclamation mark. So, we already have some listings for this. I'm still on the fence whether or not we're going to be getting this. The fact that there's a lack of info from listings and rumors and leakers themselves kind of makes me worried that we're probably not going to see, like a dedicated capsule for Beast Wars freaking 30th anniversary next year. Which is a shame. I think I made a separate dedicated video to this topic like a month or two ago, but it really sucks that, it seems like we're only getting a few releases for the 30th anniversary of one of the biggest moments ever in the Transformers franchise. And, the 40th anniversary of the 86 movie, it's getting its own capsule line. It's getting its own dedicated wave or two in Studio Series mainline even. So it really kind of sucks to see. Hopefully I'm wrong on this and we do get a capsule that's leaked or revealed at some point soon down the line, but I'm not betting on it. But it just sucks to see that we're getting so little of Beast Wars next year for its 30th anniversary, And another question and answer here is it possible there could be a more accurate and in-scale RID Scourge? And Mark answered, I know the RID characters are a want, especially due to the success of Omega Prime. As I said up top, it's difficult fitting everything in together and then being able to put the story together on how they all interact with each other and make sense to the retailers. I don't see why a more accurate Scourge could happen. So another kind of interesting answer here to break down some of the things he's saying. So he knows that the characters are wanted, especially a new Scourge. I mean, that's got to be pretty loud and clear the last couple of years. They screwed up on the Laser Optimus mold to begin with, making him a leader class instead of a commander class. They messed up on the coloring for that Scourge release in the Velocitron line, and it just doesn't fit the bill. The only figure that I think works the best on that mold is actually Toxitron. And I think he's definitely coming at some point. A Laser Optimus, an Optimus Prime in general at Commander class, that's an easy sell to the suits, the higher-ups over at Hasbro that these guys have to answer to. And it's an easy sell to the retailers that they have to, sell these ideas to and these characters in the product. So an Optimus Prime, a new Laser Optimus, I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out at Commander class within the next few years, especially for, the fan sort of outrage and demand for a new version that's better than the legacy one. In terms of him saying fitting it all in together for a story and how the characters interact and making it make sense to retailers, that's kind of interesting to hear because, there's always an overarching story with these Generations sublines since Prime Wars, but it kind of seems like it's lesser now than ever that there's an overarching story with these Generation sublines. There's not media attached to Age of the Primes or Legacy. There's barely any character bios to go off of. It's really just loose info that's given by the designers and, character art and posters that we see occasionally for the toy lines nowadays. So it's kind of weird to hear that it's still like a big priority to make the characters fit together in a storyline, in a way where they could put characters that need to be made. I thought at this point it was just, picking characters for a line that people really want to see get made, and they're just putting it out in a subline while still having a loose, overarching theme, which is what it seems like Legacy and Age of the Primes is. And hearing that answer is kind of crazy to hear that that's still a priority for the higher-ups at Hasbro. Not that it's a bad thing necessarily, I just kind of thought we were done with the big part of an overarching story in terms of picking characters for a line. And this next question and answer here is, since a new Bruticus is happening, will he be repainted into Ruination? And Mark answered, it seems like everyone wants it. So Mark is tapped into the community and what we've been asking for. He knows it. We're getting the new Combaticons next year. I would not be surprised at all if either next year even, as early as 2026 or 2027, I would not be surprised if we see these guys repainted as like a Gen Selects multi-pack or a Hasbro Pulse exclusive multi-pack. Because, we just got Omega Prime. They're seemingly wanting to delve into more RID2001 stuff. We just got Skybyte, so I definitely think these are coming at some point soon. Hasbro's not going to pass up on an easy repaint for molds, especially one that fans are really asking for in the community. And this last question and answer I'm going to cover in this video is the Transformers Prime Terracon Zombie Cliffjumper something you're interested in doing? And Mark answered, funny enough, I just pitched that myself. I really love how the new Prime Cliffjumper partialed off the Rescue Bots chase turned out. So, interesting answer here. Is he saying that he already pitched this to Hasbro recently, or is he saying that he was drumming up an idea within himself to pitch it to Hasbro at some point soon down the line? I don't know, but going by the way he worded it here, it sounds like he was just drumming up the idea to himself on how he would want to make a Terracon Cliffjumper. I don't know, but you know, it was a good reuse of that chase last year in that multi-pack. We are getting a re-release of him in the Age of the Primes line in 2026. So I would not be surprised if next year or the year after in 2027 we get a release of him repainted and resculpted into his zombie form, which would actually be really cool to see. I would be really open to that. But yeah, guys, let me know down below which of these question and answers got you most hyped for to see in the future. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye.